right, today's review is going to be for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Let's just go ahead and get into it. So the plot of this movie, I do generally like the plot of this movie. Kind of going back and reviewing Rocket's backstory along with the High Evolutionary and just generally his mission. I do think it feels a little empty as far as motivation. You're kind of wondering, why is the High Evolutionary even bothering with this at this point? And I know they give some in movie reason for it, but again, I think they just wanted to include the villain. It feels like, oh, we have an idea for a character that we think would be good, and I forget the actor's name, but he did a phenomenal job in this movie too. But it felt like they were just trying to include the high evolutionary and get to Rocket's backstory. That to me is the main thing I think this movie's guilty of. Is the present day storyline feels secondary to what they were trying to do with Rocket, and in his backstory. It feels like it's almost like a regret of James Gunn that it was like, if they had the funding or like the intrigue in it before the original Guardians of the Galaxy, this is maybe one of the ways that he would have wanted to start off the Guardians of the Galaxy like trilogy. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to the dialogue. So the dialogue for this movie is, again, it's a lot of jokes because it's a James Gunn movie. Um, a lot of the high evolutionary stuff, it comes off as overly dramatic sometimes, and he's screaming a lot, like a lot. And I mean, I get he's a bad guy, I get he's a villain, and he's gonna scream and he's gonna yell, but it gets a little tiring at times, and I just feel like it's a little weak on the writing side. And I think a lot of damage was done to the script by outside forces, mainly the Russo brothers, by heavily affecting Star Lord and Gamora's love story by killing Gamora in Infinity War, and then getting this weird Gamora back of like, I think that ripped apart the kind of the trajectory of the Guardians trilogy, if I'm being honest. I think, you know, this movie would have been a lot more meaningful if they had a meaningful, like, kind of like final resolution for the Gamora and Star Lord love story. But yeah, let's go ahead and I'm just gonna put acting on the screen again. Shout out the Mantis actor or actress, Palm. Her name was like Palm, and then like a really long last K name, and I don't exactly know how to pronounce it. Dave Batista does his normal good uh comedic acting. Chris Pratt's always going to be okay in these movies, and Bradley Cooper really carries this movie with his voice acting, I think. So yeah, shout out Bradley Cooper's voice acting, I guess, is the main winner, and obviously the High Evolutionary, the guy that plays him, he did a phenomenal job. Let me try and find his name. I think it's harder to pronounce from what I remember in the past. What is his name? Chukwudi Iwuji. I definitely butchered that. I am sorry that I butchered that, but I'm trying to give you credit here. Karen Gillan, yeah, that's right. I completely forgot about Nebula, dude. Nebula is one of my least favorite characters in the MCU. I just think she's so empty as a character, dude. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and get on to the cinematography. Cinematography in this movie, they do a lot with the visual effects, and they're mainly in the Adam Warlock scenes. There is some kind of gray CGI-ness to it, which again is a common theme with the MCU that I keep having to bring up. But outside of that, I feel like the counter Earth or like Earth, whatever, the I forgot what they call the like doppelganger Earth thing in this, but I feel like they do a good job with the visuals of that. And I mean, at the end of the day, shocker, it's because you can easily just film current modern day Earth and just make it look the same. But I think the Guardians movies have always done a good job of taking sci-fi elements and making them look visually realistic. And this movie is yet another continuation of that trend. So yeah, shout out the visuals again in a Guardians movie. The soundtrack in this movie, again, another constant in the Guardians trilogy, is they're always going to have a good curated soundtrack. James Gunn normally picks pretty good songs. Really like the Beastie Boys song in this movie, and obviously the ending song that went viral on every platform is Dog Days, I think is what it's called. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. It's a phenomenally emotional song to end a trilogy, and I think it lands all the punches in an emotional moment like that. So the comedy in this movie is actually, I think I gave it a 8.8. That's definitely, whew, am I saying this is the funniest movie? This and Guardians 1 are tied for the funniest MCU movie. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just think there's a lot of good jokes in this movie. The effing door. I normally cuss in these videos. I don't know why I'm not now. I just don't wanna get the video like downvoted or whatever for me cussing in it. But yeah, I think that's a really good joke. Obviously, I think Dave Bautista as Drax and Mantis, they carry so much as far as comedy in these movies. And Gamora is really the weak spot of this movie, along with Nebula. But Nebula is like a weak spot in a way that you don't see it. Gamora is a visible weak spot of like, damn, they really wish they had the old Gamora back. And I mean, it affects Star Lord's character in a way too. I feel like he definitely takes a back seat in this movie because one, you're putting Rocket on a pedestal, and you're kind of focusing in on him as the main character of this movie. But then also on top of that, it's like everything that you were building for with Star Lord, and the past couple of movies has kind of been chopped down because of it being a part of a greater universe. And I'm sure James Gunn kind of feels some sort of way about that because building a story and then it getting knocked down because of another creative affecting your characters, I'd imagine would be infuriating. But anyway, world building, I've got it a 7.7. I mean, they did just enough to add to the MCU. It's kind of the one of the problems about this most recent phase of the MCU is they're not doing a lot as far as the introduction of characters meaning much. I feel like the character introductions are really falling flat recently. The characters in this movie have an 8.3 for the rating there. Again, it's mainly because of the High Evolutionary and Rocket's backstory. You know, they, I feel like, are, it's a pretty heavy jump in characters and like the character development for them. However, it's a setback for Gamora and Star Lord. So that's why it didn't get too high. The action in this movie, I think the action in this movie is really good, especially the slow mo scene that they do. I think that looks phenomenal, and then some of the shootouts that they have on the ship, I think look good. And then like the scene when they're at like what do they call that place? The place that's got like the fleshy outside. I forgot what they call the place, but I thought that action scene was also really good, and the Adam Warlock scene I thought was good. So yeah, 8.8 for the action. So the total rating for this movie to me is an 8.1. That's a very average grade for the MCU. Put it just barely above the Black Widow movie in my opinion. This movie focuses a lot more to me on obviously its comedy, its visuals, and its soundtrack, which is always going to appeal to me a decent amount because I'm if you're making a good looking movie, a good sounding movie that makes me laugh, it's hard for me not to like it if I'm being honest. And that's what this movie did. And I think it's a good movie, especially considering the conditions they had for some of their characters. So, yeah, that's going to be my review of this movie. Let me know what you guys think about my review and what you think about the movie itself. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.